Testing Executive Committee, September 6th, 2019.
Okay. Call the Executive Committee meeting for Friday, September 6th to order. First up, approval of meeting minutes. Any comments, questions? Otherwise, I'm happy to move approval.
So moved.
Thank you. Please vote. Need a second? I think it's George.
I did.
Thank you.
We kind of did it on top of each
Yeah,
other.
first, second, and third.
Yes, we did.
Thank you. Any public comment? No. Executive Director's report is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to all of you. I think all of you will be at the board meeting, so I will make the report short here and I will do more detail at the board meeting. But the one item I want the executive committee to know about is the strategic plan. I know our consultant have spoken to you earlier, interviewed you. This is to me is one of the most important things we do actually to position the agency for the future. I've been your executive director for 8 months. I think understanding what the organization needs to be innovative and to move the work. So we're trying to answer the questions of what's our vision for the future, what are our priorities, what are the focused areas, what internal structure, staffing levels, and leadership will enable staff to do their work. What investment and resources we would need. If you recall, during the budget discussion, I came to you with a budget proposal to add budgets, and many of you correctly so said, well, you can just add money. Tell me where you want to add it, what the efficiencies are. This September 27th, I'm coming to you like I promised back then for a budget amendment that looks at staff efficiencies, but also add needed resources. The independent auditor's office will need one position and 2 interns. We need to upgrade the computer systems and the IT, which badly needed. We're way behind. And we're going to look at staff efficiencies. I asked my executive team to look everywhere to make sure that we're moving forward efficiently. All of this is coinciding with the strategic planning exercise. We have over 120 staff members participating in this exercise, which is 1/3 of the agency. Given my experience in other agencies, I think this is a good participation rate. I would hope that you would participate. The consultant will be seeking you out and participate in this process, because this process is done once and stays with the agency for a long time. But I will have more discussion at the board meeting and more discussion with you September 27th. Also today you're going to hear about the subcommittee. The subcommittee, or the airport subcommittee, finalized its work. It's done. The last meeting will be September 25th. A recommendation will come to the subcommittee and then goes to the board on the 27th. I'm pleased to say that all the work and the collaboration between the agencies have been at a level that I haven't seen anywhere else. So we're hoping that by the conclusion of the board on the 27th, we have a recommendation to move forward. And finally, on the capital programs and active today, we're going to have an information item at the board meeting. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Hassan. Any comments or questions for Hassan? And we'll move along. Review the current board agendas. Victoria. Good morning.
Good morning. For the September 27th draft board business agenda, we have item number 1, which is approval of the meeting minutes, followed by public comments, communication, and member comments. Item number 3 is the Policy Advisory Committee Chair's Report, followed by the Executive Director's Report. Under Chair's Report, we have item number 5, which is the 2019 iCommute Diamond Award recipients. That brings us to the consent calendar, which is item number 6. approval of the proposed solicitation of contracts, followed by item 7, which is the policy advisory committee actions. Item number 8 is the proposed 2020 program budget for the 125-905 southbound westbound connector. Item number 9 is the FY 2020 northbound wait times data collection system for the San Ysidro and O10 Lakeside East port of entry. We'll be looking for approvals of both those budget amendments. Item number 10 is also a budget amendment related to the Del Mar Bluffs. We'll be accepting some state grant money and some money from Caltrans. Item number 11 is the proposed amendments to board policy number 39, which is related to the audit policy advisory committee and audit procedures. We'll be looking for an approved. Item number 12 is the proposed board policy number 41, internal control standard, followed by item number 13, which is the proposed board policy number 42, the proposed, or the policy and reporting procedures for waste, fraud, and abuse. Item number 14, we're looking to pull it because it's not ready. Item number 15 is the quarterly progress report for transportation projects through June of 2019. Item number 16 is the executive director's delegated actions. Item number 17 is the meetings and events attended on behalf of Sandbag. The last 3 are all for information. That brings us to the reports, where item number 18 will be a report from the recommendation from the airport subcommittee. Item number 19 is the proposed 2020 program budget for the capital improvement program. This is the item that you'll be hearing today at the board meeting. Item number 20 is the proposed FY20 program budget for the regional plan. Item number 21, which is our last item, is the quarterly finance report and annual interest rate swap evaluation through June 30th, and this is being provided for information. This concludes the 27th meeting agenda.
Any comments, questions?
Yes, on item 18, 19, and 20, I guess I would like to have item 19 go ahead of 18. That seems to be the meatier part of the meeting, most time consuming. I'd like to make sure we have enough time for that. And then on item 20, so basically I just swap 18 and 19 is what I would request. And then on item 20, in the staff report, I'd like to get, you're asking for a swap of $8.5 million from Transnet with the I-15 fast track funds for additional work. Looks like administrative work on the regional plan, the big data, and the technology improvements. I'm not really sure where their I-15 dollars are intended to go. I think they were supposed to go to transit. I'm not sure. Could that be included in the staff report as to where those dollars were supposed to go before the swap? So I guess and if we could swap item 18 and 19.
Anybody got a problem with swapping 18?
If I may, Supervisor, one of the reasons we're putting the airport before is part of the capital program as the airport and the funding. So we thought you should know the final conclusion there. That was the only reason. If you want to do it the other way, that's fine too. I just telling you the logic is we're gonna give you.
But I guess my logic is if we approve the funding, then well, okay.
That's fine. It's up to you.
I think I'd rather. I just. To me, it's going to be much more time consuming than item 19. I don't want to be pushed up to the end of the meeting and we're trying to hurry through something that's very, very.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm good. Anybody have a problem with it? Okay. Victoria, will you make that note?
Thank you.
And then at this point, there's nothing agendized for the October meeting.
Good.
Anything else? Good deal. Thanks, Vic. John Kirk, proposed amendments.
We need to take a vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I move approval.
Second.
Second from Lance. It doesn't like me. I can understand why.
Hit it with a hammer.
I'm saying yes.
You just get a verbal record.
Yeah, yep, yes, approved. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now moving on to proposed amendments to Board Policy 39, Audit Policy Advisory Committee and Audit Activities. John Kirk.
Good morning. I'm going to shift over here because Mary Kay and I are going to present
the next three items jointly. Over the past month, Sandag's independent performance auditor, Mary Kashmishrav, and I have been working with the audit committee on a few board policies related to the independent performance auditor role here at Sandag. In item 5, I'll be discussing the more significant changes that are proposed to one of those policies, and that's an existing policy, Board Policy 39. That policy provides guidance on the roles and responsibilities of both the audit committee and the independent performance auditor. The proposed amendments to this policy are intended to clarify these roles now that we've been down the road a little bit and we understand more about the issues and responsibilities that come up with both the committee and the independent performance auditor. They were developed jointly by Mary and by me in collaboration with the audit committee, and they were unanimously recommended for approval by the audit committee at its August meeting. First of all, the first one is in section 3.1.10, and that's page 3 of the report, or 15 on your iPads. And that underscores the need for open communication between Mary Kay's office and the audit committee. The next changes, and there's quite a few of them throughout section 6, and that's page 5 of the report, or 17 on your tablets. The changes there emphasize the independence of the independent performance auditor from Sandag's internal management, really underscoring the need for independence in order for that office to work effectively. It also recognizes a joint role of the independent performance auditor and the Sandag Audit Committee to provide oversight of Sandag operations and programs on behalf of the Sandag Board of Directors. Proposed changes to sections 6.2 and 6.3 identify how the independent performance auditor's audit plan will be developed with input from both the audit committee and the board of directors. And then proposed changes to section 6.5 identify the factors that would be addressed and reported as audits are conducted by the Office of the Independent Performance Auditor. Finally, in section 6.12, language is proposed to be added regarding management responses to audits once they are conducted, and the follow-up that would happen to verify that recommendations that are made in the audit process are carried out. These are the most substantial proposed amendments to Board Policy 39. The recommendation to you on this is to discuss these proposed amendments, and if you see fit, to recommend approval of them to the Board of Directors. And Mary will discuss in items 6 and 7 new proposed board policies related to other aspects of the Office of the Independent Performance Auditor.
Thanks, John. So we'll just roll these three together?
You can do that.
Mary, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning, committee. How are you? I bring to you today two board policies. One on internal controls, which is required under State Controller's Office and Government Code that every government entity within California implement a policy on systems of good internal controls. This policy really is to provide a tool for all levels throughout Sandag, management, directors, and staff, to ensure that they are in fact having good systems of controls around day-to-day operations, including contracts, procurement, and good systems of control around payables, travel, everything. So really, Board Policy 41 will ensure that they understand that. After this policy is approved and moves to for adoption to the board, I'll provide a training for staff throughout the organization on how they would adapt this tool in their environment to further help them understand what good systems of control really mean. Any questions on that policy? So today I'm seeking, the audit committee already moved and approved it for recommendation to the board, and I seek that from you as well today.
Put them all together so you go.
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Minto.
My question is, because I see a lot of language in this, and then we have, some looks like it was created, then we added what's red and underlined, and then I see some strike-throughs. Did we take some of this from a boilerplate like from someplace else and then adapt it because based on best practices and things of that nature?
I think there's, are we talking about 39 or 41?
I'm sorry, since we're combining them,
Yeah, I think
I'd just
39,
wait.
yes, I can let John answer
Yeah.
those questions for you.
Yeah, so ultimately, a lot of the language here, we've worked in collaboration with Mary and the Audit Committee on this, and we certainly pulled in best practices from other areas. One of them has to do with, we are called on under AB 805 to use a particular standard in how we conduct audits. So rather than just repeating all of that, we kind of incorporate that by reference, and in the areas where we need to specifically call it out, we try to specifically use the same language that they use, so we make sure that we're in uniformity with them. So certainly there are a lot of areas here where we've pulled in language from other best practice sources.
Okay. The reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people may not know that, and I just, when you report on that, I want people to know that, you know, this isn't just some arbitrary thing that we thought up, but they're tried and true practices.
Absolutely, and one of that is actually what John is referring to as GAGS, which is Generally Accepted Government Auditing Standards, or the Yellow Book. And it is required under any government to follow those professional auditing standards when they're doing any kind of audit or non-audit services. So that was pulled in and referenced as that is the professional standard in which we will follow.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
We'll move on to number 42.
Number 42, again, to align my office with AB 805, which says that I am responsible to investigate potential fraud, waste, or abuse within the organization. This further establishes a policy that gives guidance to either employees or public members to report potential fraud, waste, and abuse to my office directly. And this really is a policy that gives them those steps in how they would do that, including the Attorney General's statements around Whistleblower Act, which if there's retaliation against an employee when they report potential fraud, waste, or abuse, that there is a protection for them. So that is also included in there. So this really is a policy that provides, again, the tool for employees and the public to reach out to me and report potential waste.
Perfect. Any questions? So we need a vote to recommend the 3 of these to the board. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So I will move approval.
Second.
Please vote. Thank you. Moving on back to Vic for ledge status and Robin Wapner. Thank you both.
Okay, so the federal legislative update will be brief. Congress was mainly out on recess in August, but since we last met, we will give you a couple updates. So the federal budget is expected to end at the end of September, and the House has passed its versions of the appropriations bills. The Senate has yet to take up any of theirs. So as such, we expect a continuing resolution to be fulfilled in order to fund the government's programs through probably, it's unknown how long the CR will be, but it will fund it until probably the next bill budget is passed. In relation to that, the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee has taken up their version of the FAST Act. It maintains many of the highway programs that you currently see. However, it also creates some new pilot projects to look at different ways of incentivizing user-based revenue mechanisms. So that's something that we'll be watching. However, it still has a long process to go through. In relation to funding opportunities, we've submitted for the BUILD grant and the Innovative Mobility. This is an intermodal trip planning mobile app with a fare payment system that we've submitted for consideration. The awards are expected by the end of the year. There's also some future grant opportunities that we see on the rail side. So we'll be working with NCTD and the Los Angeles Border to identify projects that we think that would be the most competitive. There are also some awards that were announced for infra. The region did not receive an award. There was actually one that was given to the state of California, $50 million to Temecula. State of Good Repair, there were no awardees in the state of California for this program. And we're currently working with our partners throughout Southern California to basically put together a letter to try to advocate on behalf of the region and highlight the importance of federal funding to augment our Transnet program to get projects completed completed. And lastly, we've been updating the committee on the SAFE ruling. This is where the federal government has essentially decreased their emission standards. Why this is important is because it affects our models that we have to use in order to program federal funding onto projects. So if the resolution isn't figured out between the federal government and I believe there's like 13 or 18 states that this would impact, it would essentially negate us from being able to program federal dollars onto projects and to do some things like the RTIP. So with that, we're watching the process and waiting for the rulemaking to come down. And then we're working through CalCog, and Hassan's been participating with the other executive directors to be able to articulate the impacts of this potential rulemaking process on the region. This concludes my federal report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from Rick?
So at the state level, as I mentioned at our last meeting, the state legislature went into recess. They got back a couple weeks ago, and so we are in the throes of the last couple weeks of session, meaning next Friday is the deadline for any legislation to pass out of the legislature, and then the governor will have until October 13th to either sign or veto bills. For us, of utmost importance is Sandag's bill, AB 1730, which would provide us additional time to work on our regional plan. It still needs to go through the Senate before it gets to the governor's office, but we have received assurances that it's moving forward, so we expect some action within the next few days. And hopefully at our next meeting, I'll be telling you that it was signed into law and we are good to go. In addition, you'll remember that we discussed SB 5 at our last meeting, as well as SB 277. SB 5 is Senator Bell's bill related to housing. We actually helped to host a press conference with Senator Bell. Our vice chair was able to participate. Mayor Salas went to breakfast with Senator Bell, and we were also pleased to host his staff on a tour of Oak Chula Vista. I want to thank the mayor's staff for joining us for that, as well as our border projects. It's really important that we take every opportunity to engage Sacramento whenever they are down in San Diego, so that when they go back to Sacramento, they're aware of all of our key funding and policy priorities, and we're seeing this make a difference. You remember when we talked about our legislative program at the beginning of the year, we said one of our focuses this year was really going to focus on the administration and our regulatory agencies, because we see that once a bill becomes law, it really passes over to the other side. And so I'm pleased to say that we really have been making inroads into the administration. Just earlier this week, Hassan and I traveled to Sacramento to participate in the confirmation hearing for Secretary David Kim, the new Secretary of the California State Transportation Agency. We also met with Chad Edison, who will be remaining as the Deputy Secretary for Transportation at CalSTA, and learned that there's going to be 2 more Deputy Secretaries added to CalSTA, which really speaks to the signals that Governor Newsom recognizes the importance of transportation as a statewide matter. So we're looking forward to developing relationships with those new folks as well. And then we have had calls with the California Energy Commission. If you remember, Hassan announced at the last board meeting that we were pleased to partner up with the Energy Commission to, they are going to be contributing about $16 million to our electric vehicle charging infrastructure program that we hope to stand up next year with them. So we are engaging with their lead commissioner to find other opportunities to partner with the Energy Commission. Next month, we are going to be hosting a workshop with the Public Utilities Commission related to TNCs and accessibility. And in a couple of weeks, the California Transportation Commission will be coming to San Diego to host an SB1 workshop. So again, these are all really great opportunities for Sacramento to better understand our region and for us to elevate all of our priorities to those that are making the decisions up there. So we encourage you to participate. Please let us know if you have any requests you want to make sure we're conveying through these meetings, and we'll continue to keep you updated as we move forward.
Thanks, Robin. Comments, questions, John?
My understanding is SB 5 went into suspense.
It got out of suspense last Friday.
Okay.
So it's up in the 3rd reading. So they continue to work with it. I know you had questions about the educational community. There are safeguards within the bill, lots of kind of last checks in case. The concern is that through SB 5, the funding comes from ERAF, which is an educational fund. But because of Prop 98, they are guaranteed to get that money no matter what. Right now it's being backfilled by the general fund. If we were to enter a period of recession or something like that where funding may become uncertain, then there's a backstop, meaning there's a state committee that's going to review any plans through SB 5. They could always say, no, we can't move forward with this plan right now because we need to make sure that the schools are getting their funding first.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Could I guess, okay, I can't keep track of all these bills.
Yes.
Can you give me a brief synopsis of SB 5?
SB 5, so they don't want it to be known as Redevelopment 2.0, but basically this is the state's renewed effort to provide much needed funding for cities, local jurisdictions to to do housing, transit-oriented development, resiliency. It's the eligibility for funding is very broad, but basically they're looking for cities and counties to partner up and really generate redevelopment opportunities in their communities. So half of the funding does need to go to affordable housing. They'll provide ultimately up to $2 billion per year for these purposes. And what's really unique about this and different from the original redevelopment plan is that these funds can be used to bond it out, they can be bonded out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bill?
Will this be like the old redevelopment where we'll have a certain amount of money that we can use as we see fit, or will we have to bid on each project?
So essentially what you're gonna do is whoever you partner with will come up with a plan. It then goes through a review process through the state committee, they sign off on it, and you get the funding used for those purposes.
It is more competitive. The state has to sign off on the plan before they fund it.
All right, thanks. Well, it's certainly better than nothing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, this in combination with EIFDs, the district financing, it's better than nothing. It's not the old redevelopment, but it's at least have some new resources for cities and counties to partner up.
Well, I don't want to make this a workshop, but will they be focusing on blight more, or trying to rid cities of blight, or is it going to be more of economic opportunities?
That's a key difference. It's no longer limited to blight.
Yeah.
Completely open to redevelopment.
Actually, one of the reasons Senator Bill came here is because he heard about a lot of talk about the transit-oriented development. So he have a desire to see San Diego region to be the first to try this way. And we hope we're successful.
Well, thank you all.
I have one quick question. So what about developments that have already been approved that we're not able to get funding for? Are those eligible, or would they be not?
I would need to double check, but my gut is that it should be eligible, as long as the state committee approves it.
Because I have some right now, and they would be
It should
considered
be
transit-oriented, but
Yeah.
we're just trying to get the funding for it, so that would.
Let me just ask to confirm.
Yeah, you could let me know, that'd be awesome.
Can I ask one question? The applicant, though, is the city, not the developer.
Correct.
The city is
So you
that.
get to be a partner.
Yeah, which we,
You are.
yeah, we always are, yeah.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Victoria. We have no further public comment. Upcoming meeting, as of now, October 11th is the next exec committee. Thank you all.